Eric has a master's degree in marriage and family therapy and is a certified hypnotherapist. For over 24 years, he has specialized in past life regression therapy, life between lives therapy, and present life deep emotional healing of the body and subconscious mind. His life passion has been to use hypnotherapy to help clients spiritually awaken by guiding them into expanded states of consciousness to connect to their inner wisdom and higher self, which can uncover and heal the roots of limiting fears and beliefs. He has a private practice in St. Paul, Minnesota. To learn more, you can visit his website, www.eric, that's E-R-I-C, Christopher.com. So please help me welcome Eric Christopher.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you, Ella. All right. Thank you so much, Ella. I should mention, ericChristopher.com was taken, so it's ericjchristopher.com. J stands for Jonathan, my middle name. So thank you, Ella, for inviting me, and thank you all for inviting me here to speak today on this beautiful June morning. It's an honor to speak and to be here at a place that helps people grow and evolve and awaken. Because that's what we're doing here, not just here in this room, but that's what we're doing here as these incredible, magnificent, eternal soul beings that we are. Just as the body's instinct is to breathe, the soul's instinct is to grow and evolve. And you guess what? We can't grow and evolve unless we engage in what this month's theme is, and that is embracing and integrating or acknowledging your shadow self. So I'm going to talk about that today and actually do a few different things that can help you do that. So I'm going to talk about 20 minutes, then we're going to do a guided meditation or a guided journey that can, again, help you embrace your shadow self as well as connect to a dimension of your being that's eternal, indestructible, outside of time and space, which you couldn't separate yourself from if you tried. So it just gets covered up in the human experience, of course. So Carl Jung was the first person to coin the term shadow self, and he used it to describe aspects of ourself that we either dismiss or deny or reject or repress, often unconsciously, because we deem them to be somehow flawed or undesirable or negative. And some examples of that might be anger, aggression, jealousy, procrastination, perfectionism, any kind of fears or insecurities, being judgmental. To the degree that we're judgmental of others, we're often subconsciously judgmental of ourselves. And so what we're going to notice about the shadow parts of us is that they tend to be, they're born out of some kind of insecurities or feelings of inadequacy. But Carl Jung also said this. He said, healing is about making conscious that which is unconscious. For many of us, our shadow parts of us can be unconscious. We're not quite aware of them. But if we can, and the idea is if you can become conscious and aware of what these shadow parts of us are, then we can understand where did they begin? How did they emerge? And that can help us have greater self-compassion and self-understanding, and it can help our relationships grow stronger and better because we're not triggered so much unconsciously. So if you're human, if you have the body and mind earth suit here, like all of us do, if you're human, you have a shadow self. And many of that shadow, many of them will stem from some kind of feeling of inadequacy. And everyone can feel everyone can feel confident in some aspects of their life, but then not very confident in other aspects of their life. And I'll give a perfect example of myself where my inadequacies were really rising to the surface when I was in my early 20s, because I was comparing myself with my older siblings. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. We're all 2 years apart. My oldest brother has shoulders out to here. He can build anything. He can make anything. He started his own fruit orchard, he and his wife, from scratch. He's even, everything he makes is perfect. He sells his fruits, his apples, his honey, his maple syrup at the St. Paul Farmers Market. But I was never a hammer and nails kind of guy. If my bike was broken, I'd say, Mark, can you fix this? Oh yeah, I can do that. And so I kind of never developed those skills. I have another brother that is, he always loved math, and he loves technology, figuring it out. He rose up in the corporate ladder, but that was never me. I mean, technology, I kind of have a phobia of. My brain doesn't love to figure it out, and so I'm not good at technology and feel quite inadequate with that. And my other sister she was a lawyer. I mean, she can read a book in a day and comprehend law, and my brain could never comprehend that. It didn't want to. And besides, I have ADD. My mind wanders every time I read a book, and so I have to reread the paragraphs, and so it takes a long time for me to read a book. And so I guess when I'm comparing myself to them, I can feel kind of inadequate. And so when you're focusing on your detriments, you can kind of feel, a little smaller. But Joseph Campbell was a theologian and a philosopher, and he said this. He said, follow your bliss. Follow what you resonate. Figure out what your passion is and follow that. And so I did that. My passion was, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I did like to travel, so I taught English overseas. And then after that, I did a lot of backpack. 3 different times I backpacked for like 3 to 6 months at a time around India, traveled around the Middle East. I learned about meditation, learned about yoga, became really fascinated with spiritual hypnotherapy, helping people connect to their higher soul part. So it's like I might not be good at a lot of things, but I do know how to help people connect to their eternal soul self in a deep way, connect with spirit guides, even loved ones on the other side, and can help heal traumas from a past life or present life traumas that are impacting you in this life, often in just one session. I know how to do that and reprogram the limiting beliefs from the subconscious mind. So the point is, we all have our gifts and our strengths, but energy flows where attention goes. So when you focus on your deficiencies, then you kind of feel like inadequate. But when you can focus on your strengths and follow your passion, what I believe is, that's when you're following what your passion is, you're getting more in alignment with your soul self, and then the spirit guides on the other side can help arrange that. You're moving into the flow of life. And so inadequacies can be one part of your shadow self, and it also is this other part, but many times our shadow parts are born out of traumas with a capital T, traumas with a small t. And those might be times where we're not fully made to feel loved, wanted, valued, safe, and secure. And we don't feel fully accepted. And when that happens, certain beliefs can get formed. And it doesn't have to be your parents saying, you're a no-good loser. They can just be mom and dad. They're so stressed with their own lives so much, or they got their own issues, their own baggage going on, because you're raised by people that aren't perfect. Nobody here is perfect. And so they weren't able to be fully present with you in the way you needed them to be. So sometimes certain beliefs can get formed. Beliefs such as, oh, I'm not wanted, I'm not valued, I'm rejected. Here's some examples. I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not accepted, I'm unworthy, I'm abandoned, I'm rejected. I have to repress my feelings. I have to guard my heart. If I don't guard my heart, I'm going to get hurt. I can't express anger or frustrations. I can't ask for what I want. I have to please others. It's my job to keep the peace. These are subtle subconscious beliefs that can get formed as it's part of the human experience. But as Bruce Lipton was this writer that wrote he wrote the book called Biology of Belief. And in it, he said, 95% of our lives were kind of guided by these unconscious beliefs underneath the surface until once we become aware of them and acknowledge them and embrace them and integrate them, and I'm going to talk about what integrating means, then they don't have the same unconscious grip on us. Remember, healing is about becoming conscious that which is unconscious. Once we're conscious of them, they won't have the same grip on us. And it helps us to thrive more. So, and he also said, when you shift and change your thoughts, you can shift your biochemistry and the molecular structure of your brain and your body. So, in his book, Biology of Belief, he talks about a lot of different studies that support that. So, but here's a perfect example. I had a client recently come to me who was, the guy was so brilliant. I mean, he's a mechanical engineer. He can build a house, he can build a building from scratch. He helped found a company where he's now the head of a company of 150 employees. The guy's brilliant. But he has this belief pattern that he's not smart enough. Now, where does that come from? Well, he had the insight to notice that, hey, it comes from his growing up experience, where his older brother was really mean and would insult him all the time and really pick on him. And he slowly developed this program of not being smart enough. And here's another example. Before I married my perfect wife, she told me to say that. No, I remember dating this woman, a girlfriend, and I remember just paging through a magazine one day and just making a comment like, "Oh, there's a model in the magazine. Oh, she's got a really good nose and her eyebrows are nice." And so my girlfriend's response was, "Well, you think my nose is ugly?" And I said, "No, that's not what I meant. I'm just saying this woman's got like a near perfect nose, and oh no, you think my nose is ugly?" And no. But what happened is she grew up, thinking that she wasn't very pretty, and so what the brain does is this. It loves to allow an information to support the program that's already there. You can really let in that information, but if someone were to sit here to tell my client or my ex-girlfriend, "No, you really are brilliant, or you are really beautiful," it's hard to let that in because it doesn't jive with the program that's already there. Now, how does this start? Let me explain how it all starts. If you want to reprogram your subconscious mind, what helps is to get into a really deep state of meditation, which is essentially what hypnosis does. You get in a slower brainwave state. Right now, we're at what we call the beta level of consciousness. If we were hooked up to an EEG machine that measures brainwaves, it would look like this. Now, if you get in a deep level of meditation or hypnosis, it starts to slow down from beta level of consciousness down to alpha and then theta, slower brainwave states. When we're in the slower brainwave state, two things happen. We're more accessible to our unconscious mind, and we're more suggestible for suggestions. So, get this. Children about up until the age of 8 years old, they go in and out of beta, alpha, theta, but predominantly they're in that slower brainwave state, which means the subtle messages that you take in, it's almost like there's a computer programmer in there. So, in programming these negative thoughts or messages or beliefs, and it doesn't have to be anything super huge. Like strong abuse. It can be something like you're reading out loud in the 3rd grade The class is reading out loud. It comes to your turn. You stumble over some words. The class laughs, and part of you says, I ain't putting myself out there anymore. It's not safe. I'll be judged and criticized. And that can become a program. And when that belief, keep in mind that we're beings of energy, as Ella said. What strong energy is thoughts, emotions, feelings. That thought form energy, then what can happen is you can attract people, situations, events, and circumstances in your life that match this unhealed energy. Now, that's why we want to embrace the shadow self and acknowledge it, because this is what happens if you don't. Perfect example. I had a client come one day. He was like a CEO of his company, but he came because he was, even though he is CEO of a company, every time he was talking to his colleagues or talking in front of a meeting, his hands would shake. He'd be nervous. If he was even doing a golfing outing with some prospective clients, his hands would shake. And it's because he was nervous. So he wanted to come and, I want to get rid of this thing, nervousness. So then we did a process and to help him let go. First, he had to acknowledge, what is this? Where did it come from? So what I'm sharing, this is something that you can all do on your own sometime in a meditative experience. But what I had him do was I just said, close your eyes and imagine a time recently that you were most triggered, where you're feeling most anxious. And he remembered a time speaking in front of a group of people from his own company, and he's nervous. And I said, okay, where do you feel that nervous feeling in your body? And he could feel it right in his heart center. Sometimes it went down here, but he mostly could feel it right here. And I said, let your consciousness just slide down. Here's the key. When you feel it in your body, then you switch from thinking mode, mind, to feeling mode. Mind is not present. Feeling mode, you're anchored in the present moment. Then you can start to tune into the subconscious part or the intuitive part of you. When you're in your thinking mind, the thinking mind is what kind of locks it in. So I said, just feel the energy of that fear right here. It's just thought. It's just emotional energy. Imagine your consciousness sliding right down into the heart and center of that fear energy or that anxiety. And I said, what is the feeling? He said, it's anxiousness. So slide down into that anxious feeling. And imagine that you give it a microphone. And imagine that you're interviewing it. And just let it speak. Let it say, what is the feeling? He said, I feel anxious. But then let it continue. I said, I feel anxious because, and he said, I feel anxious because I might make a mistake. Without thinking, just let your intuitive mind speak. And then, if I make a mistake, that means I'll be judged and criticized. And if I'm judged and criticized, that means I'll be rejected and not loved and all alone. And I said, okay, let that feeling turn into a time tunnel. Let it carry you back to an earlier time where you felt that. Because if he's feeling it now, it's triggered from something earlier. So he's flooded with images of his dad criticizing him, telling him he's not doing something right. And even when he'd have a really good basketball game, his dad would only highlight what he did wrong. Now, in his dad's mind, he's saying, I'm going to make you into a great basketball player, a great person. But in his mind is like, I can't make a mistake. And geez, I'm some loser if I make a mistake. You see, that's how he interpreted it. So once we can understand where that came from, hey, I did, this is something, again, you can all do on your own, but hey, I invited him to take that energy, feel it right here. This is the past. Right now, the past is underneath your hand right now, because the past does not exist except a memory, which is a thought, a feeling, maybe a corresponding belief like, I can't make a mistake. So let's take that thought form energy, 3, 2, 1, lift up your hand, send it to Dad. Dad gave it to you. You send it back to Dad. Have Dad give it back to wherever he got it from, his dad. And maybe he passes it back through the generational line. Why? Because so much of this stuff gets passed down through the generational line like an unconscious virus. But when you're conscious of it, you can take it, send it back through the generational line, tell everyone involved that was ever touched by that mental, emotional pollution to throw it in a huge incinerator. Let it be transmuted to pure source energy. Then you get back a part of your own light and potential that was lost when you took that on. So then people will feel heavy energy leaving, lighter energy coming back into this place to replace it. So and then you take that energy and you give it to that 5-year-old self or the junior high self and all the times where you most needed it, and see yourself moving through that with your own power and strength, some of those old scenes. So that's a way that we can help transmute some of these things that were at the unconscious level. So so think of it, when you think of integrating your shadow self, think of integrating it as just learning from your experiences, accepting it as part of your journey of growing and evolving, which we're all doing here, and having compassion for that part of you that's going through the learning. And it's been said that all of our issues, it's been said that so much of our actions, words, are either based in love or they're based in fear, one or the other. So much of our shadow part is part of the human body and mind part. Well, that can be based in fear. Why? Because, when you're fully identified with the body, bodies get sick, bodies die. You need money to survive. But the whole time we're using these bodies, we are these eternal soul beings that are eternal, indestructible, outside of time and space. We're whole and complete. And you couldn't separate yourself from that part. You're an eternal being having a human experience. And that part is based in love. And we're based in love, we'll go back to love, and we are beings of love while we're here. So we are these multidimensional beings. The shadow parts of us can cover up. So whatever is covering up your wholeness and completeness, which you are, which you couldn't separate yourself from, but it gets covered up in the human experience, we can become aware of that and let it go. Integrate the learning of it into the fullness of our being. If I didn't, there was a time 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Now, I'd be too terrified to be up here to talk. I had too much anxiety. I would have too much anxiety about it. But, I had to face my own shadow self. Part of it came from a past life in which I was killed for speaking my truth, but healed a layer of that and healed other layers of my own growing up experience. Because when you're young and you have two older brothers that are dominating, every time you say something, it's turned into a joke, and part of you can get the idea of, what I say isn't very important, so I think I'll just shut up. You have to become aware of your shadow parts. That's part of the growing and evolving journey. And so that's this month's theme, so not a bad thing. Let's see here. Oh, a beautiful bumper sticker I saw the other day. No mud, no lotus flower. Lotus flowers grow in the muck, in the mud. Carl Jung also said this: a definition of healing is becoming more whole and complete. In becoming more whole and complete, it's a subtraction process. We are already whole and complete. What we want to do is become aware of whatever is covering up, whatever thought, feeling, belief, trauma, anything that's covering our wholeness and completeness up. That's one of the things we're doing here as a soul, and to recognize who and what we truly are while we're here. These brilliant soul beings that are not separate from source energy. My dad was a minister, and so I didn't grow up thinking we're source energy. It's a different way of seeing things. you can say, well, I have a soul. I grew up thinking that, but it's much more accurate to say, no, you are this eternal being. That's the permanent part of you. One day you won't be your body, but try as you might, try to separate yourself from the light energy and consciousness that's animating the body. That's your permanent self. And that's, one could say, is who and what we truly are. Eckhart Tolle said, we tend to grow the most as humans and as souls on the heels of tragedy, on the heels of loss. That's how, when we tend to grow and awaken and evolve the most. So, another great quote, the cave that you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. That's a quote by Joseph Campbell. Oh, one final quote. This was written by a guy named David Schnark, who wrote the book called Passionate Marriage. He said, life has this eloquent way of holding our happiness hostage, and the price for ransom is our own growth and development. And that's what part of growing and evolving is noticing our shadow self, integrating it. Remember, integrating it is just about it. It's learning from the experience and having compassion for that part of you that is growing. I'm going to close my talking part before I lead you in a guided journey. I'm going to close with a quote by, well, it's not really a quote. If you're familiar with Suzanne Giesemann, she's a medium. She used to be a really high-ranking naval commander. She had met with different presidents. But after she retired, she found her gifts as being a medium. And so she would speak to spirits that were trying to talk to her to give messages to other people. And she became what she called a evidence-based medium, where basically she would say to the spirit telepathically, tell me something that there's no way I would know, but your loved one here would, so they know I'm talking to you. So she did that for a while, but then she started noticing that she started to channel these high-level spiritual beings that wanted to channel messages and wisdom through her. So anyone can sign up for these messages. You go to SuzanneGiesemann.com. If you have trouble doing, just send me an email and I'll forward you. Every day, you can sign up and get these beautiful words of channeled wisdom. But this was one that came the other day, and I thought, well, this pertains to the talk we're doing today, this month's theme. The Sanaya, or these higher guidance, what she channeled was this. Your energy field is like an onion with layers of experiences built up over the years. Any trauma you experienced along the way may still be lodged within those layers. As one dense area is healed, another may be revealed. Do not be concerned. It has been there for quite a while, quite some time, yet here you are. Could it be time to release yet another layer? What you bring to the surface of awareness, you can release to be transmuted by the healing light of consciousness. Whether solo on your own or with the help of one trained in such actions, healing takes place layer by layer. Don't seek perfection, dear one. You already are perfect and whole at the level of the soul. Seek freedom, and so it is. You are, she always ends these messages, Sanaya does. You are so very loved. So, with that, we're going to do a guided journey today. And this is a guided journey that how these guided journeys work, to the degree that you can be focused, is to the degree you're going to go deeper into it. I always tell all my hypnotic clients, to the degree you kind of control the gas pedal as to how far deep you go. And don't be afraid of the word hypnosis. Think of it as just a deep meditation. It's almost the same thing, really. So when the mind is thinking of, oh, I got to do this or that today, or what should I do, any errands to run on the way home today, that tends to pull you out. What helps you go deeper is just be anchored in the present moment. And so with that, we're going to do this guided journey. So feel free to just get comfortable. Maybe you can sit in a meditative state or just relax. And imagine that you place a circle of light around you about an arm's length away. And just when I say imagine, I just mean get a vague thought about it, and that's good enough for our purposes. And then imagine that you place a circle, you got the circle of light around you as a thought. Then imagine that you draw a dark curtain on anything outside of the circle of light, just so that anything that might serve as a distraction for the next 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, let that fade to non-existence. You can pick it all up again later afterwards, of course. But for the next 10 to 15 minutes, just only focus on my words and on that which is coming up on the inside and in your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual energy bodies. Also be open to receive any information that would like to drop in from your own higher mind or higher guidance. Now I'm going to take a nice deep breath. Exhalation, let that relax your body, let it quiet the mind. Put 100% of your focus and attention on this tone. As you follow the tone into the silence, allow your mind to become all the more anchored in the present moment, tuning into the tone and letting your body become all the more relaxed. As you follow the tone into the silence, the body becomes relaxed, the mind becomes relaxed. As you follow the tone into the silence, all thoughts of future fade away and all thoughts of past just disappear as you allow yourself to rest and to bask in this eternal present moment of now. Because when the focus and attention is solidly anchored in this now time, that is when insights, wisdom, clarity can drop in from your own higher mind or higher guidance system. So now in just this moment, see or feel or imagine yourself walking in a garden, feeling your feet as you're walking in this garden. You can imagine taking off your shoes and just feeling the soft grass beneath your feet. And imagine that this garden is the most fragrant garden in the entire world. And it is filled with beautiful, fragrant flowers. And you single out one of these flowers, the most beautiful and fragrant of them all. And you approach that flower with your hand outstretched, and you now begin to feel the soft, velvety petals of that flower between your thumb and fingers. And then you can place your nose in the center of that flower and inhale that beautiful aroma, allowing that perfume fragrance to flood through your whole being, relaxing you even deeper into your own present moment experience. But now in a few moments, I'm going to play a tone, and when you hear the sound of the tone, that'll be a signal for you to drift on up outside of yourself and then look down at yourself from a third-person point of view. It'll be as if you're just looking down at yourself in the garden there, having a good time. 3, 2, and now 1. And you now lift on up and look down, and you get an impression of yourself down there in the garden having a good time and noticing the top of your head down there. And then even if you get a vague thought about it, that's good enough. Now let your consciousness begin to float and drift a little bit higher and higher so that you see more of the garden, and then pretty soon you can see like a mile or so around the garden. It's as though you're floating up like a balloon, just going higher and higher, and soon you can see for hundreds of miles all around, and you can't even see your body anymore. You can't even see the garden down there either. And as you float higher and higher still, for just the next 10 minutes, you temporarily leave behind your main identity down there of your body and mind system, and you more begin to tune into the light and energy and consciousness that animates your body down there. You more begin to tune into and identify with your soul self of pure consciousness as you lightly and freely drift higher and higher. So high now that you can see the curvature of the earth, and you just keep moving higher, deeper into space. and you turn around in outer space, you turn around and see that earth getting smaller and smaller beneath you as you continue just like a rocket this time, floating higher and higher. And soon that earth is looking as though it could be about the size of a marble way down there, and then down to the size of a pea, and then down to the size of a tiny grain of sand. And as you drift higher still, that earth completely disappears. And you turn around and continue to drift up higher and higher and higher, and way in the distance there's a light. In your mind's eye, you simply create a light. This is the light of source energy, and it's the light of home in the ultimate sense. So as you find yourself drifting closer and closer to this light, you feel a growing sense of calm and peace and well-being. And soon, and then it's as though you're magnetically drawn to this light because you're made of the same substance, just as this light is magnetically drawn to you. And it's as though you're floating on this light on an energy current that guides you and pulls you all the way up to the outer reaches of this light, feeling an even stronger sense of calm and peace and well-being. And just allow the outer reaches of this light in this moment to now lovingly envelop you, and now pull you into its center, so that you as this energy being just merge into the very heart and center of this light of source energy. And you simply rest here. You simply rest here, and you begin to soak in these high vibrations like a sponge, allowing them to saturate your whole being. And you give the gift of your full presence to this light of source energy, and allow the light of source energy to give you the gift of its full presence. And you now begin to breathe in and actually feel certain specific qualities of this light of source energy. One of the qualities of this light of source energy is of deep peace. So in this moment, you now breathe in right into the heart center, those vibrations of source energy, which is peace. So it's like right into the heart center. You're breathing in peace. Exhalation, letting the vibrations of peace just flood through every cell, molecule, and atom of your being and all of the space in between. Your whole energy system becomes flooded with peace. Feel now what peace, the vibration of peace feels like. Yeah. And now we're going to compare that vibration of peace with a different quality of source energy, and this is the quality of source energy, which is joy. So in this moment, you now breathe in the vibrations of joy right into the heart center on the inhalation, and letting the vibrations of joy flood through your whole being. On the exhalation, your whole energy system becomes flooded with the vibrations of joy. Feeling what joy feels like. It's very subtle. If you let your mind be a microscope, you can feel the subtle difference between joy and peace. Very subtle. And now there's another quality of source energy to really tune into, and this is the quality of source energy, which is unconditional love and acceptance. It's a quality that is not necessarily that easily felt in the human experience, so really soak it in now. Unconditional love and acceptance. You breathe it on the inhalation. Exhalation, it spreads through your whole being. And finally, there's another quality of source energy to soak in. And this is the quality of pure safety and security. So in this moment, you now breathe in the vibrations of source, which is pure safety and security on the inhalation, and on the exhalation, let it spread through your whole energy system. Feeling now the vibrations of safety and security feel like. And then just relax your focus. Just breathe in a combination of all of these qualities of source energy, of deep peace, of joy, of unconditional love and acceptance, safety and security. And just now, for a few moments, imagine that you're breathing in so much of these high vibration qualities of Source that the boundaries between you and this Source energy just begin to melt away for a few moments. So that you as this energy being just melt into and merge as one in this infinite ocean of Source energy, like an individual wave that melts back into the ocean, becoming one with that ocean, before re-emerging as its own unique individual wave again. And you never lose this awareness of presence, or presence of awareness, but you feel yourself expanding out now in all directions, expanding out to the right into infinity, feeling that, expanding to the left to eternity, feeling that, expanding above you to infinity, feeling that, below you to eternity, feeling that, going deeper into that, expanding in front of you to infinity, and behind you to eternity, and on all sides simultaneously into infinity. So in only this moment, there is no more up or down or here or there or sideways. There's no time or space. There's only here, only now, just this oneness. As you follow the tone into the silence, let that just relax you deeper and deeper into your own present moment experience of resting and basking in and as the Source energy of pure creative potential. And while you're looking and basking, feeling this infinite dimension of your being, you look down to where the earth used to be, and instead of the earth being there, there's a line. Duality is now created. There's you and this line down there. And you can see that this is a timeline of your present life self. The future is way off to the right, past is to the left, present is straight below. So let yourself kind of continue to float and bask in this light of Source energy, but you find yourself drifting all the way above the far left. So you are above the very beginning of your expression of your current body and mind system. And then you move ahead about 2 months so that you look down and you get an impression of your 2-month-old self down there. And silently answer these questions with what feels the truest. These should be easy questions. But as you look at that 2-month-old infant self down there, ideally should that younger 2-month self, ideally, we're talking ideally, be made to feel loved and wanted and valued and safe and secure? Are they worthy of love down there? Are they good enough as they are? Are they deserving of love and success in their life, that 2-month-old infant self? Well, I'll give you a hint. The answer is yes. All infants should be ideally made to feel fully loved and valued, and they are worthy of love, and they are good enough as they are, and they are deserving. But as you see yourself grow up to age 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the teenage years, 20s, 30s, and so on. Somewhere in that timeline, there are times and moments as part of the human experience where you weren't always made to feel fully loved and valued and wanted, and certain traumas or feelings of rejection or not good enough could drop in. And you can notice those times down there. But no matter what, ideally, Everyone ideally should be made to feel fully unconditionally loved and valued and accepted. So if there's any residue energy, if you look at the past and you look at your present, way up from above on that timeline, if there's anything from the past that is not serving you, that is not benefiting you, you can take the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the perspectives of that, and you can just imagine letting it go. Maybe you give it back to who gave it to you. Maybe you have them throw it in a big incinerator. Maybe you just put it in a big incinerator yourself. You are a being of wholeness and completeness, based in love. Anything that wants to cover that up, you can be aware of it, acknowledge it, and you can let it go. And then you can replace it with a part of your own light and potential that was somehow covered up and lost when you took that on. You ask the universe, ask your angels and guides, your own higher self, to let the lighter vibrations come back to you. And then this lighter vibration, this is what you can move now above the present and future self. And you can now create that next best, grandest version of yourself. You create a version of yourself down there in which it is as though your body and mind system is a totally clear vessel for the brilliance of your soul self to shine through. Totally unimpeded by any of that old programming and conditioning. And notice what that might look like and feel like and be like to do that. And then feel what that feels like. What does that feel like? Whatever that feels like is what we want to bring back with you today. So this time now, I'm going to count up from 1 up to 5. As I reach the count of 5, you can allow yourself to emerge feeling refreshed, alive, alert, feeling better in every way. 1, coming back together, body, mind, and soul all together as one in your current body and mind system. 2, leaving behind any thoughts, feelings, beliefs that don't ever serve you. Instead, bringing back with you the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that do benefit and serve you and are based in a higher truth. And now, and bring back with you a renewed connection to your own higher self and source energy as well. And now as I count 3, you now begin to feel the full support of the chair beneath your back, beneath your legs, taking deeper breaths into the body now as I count 4. Feeling the arms and legs in the chair, feeling body in the chair, feeling breath in the body. Breath is the link between the body and this eternal part of you. So from this day forward, as you tune into the breath, you'll tune into this eternal free part of you. So now with that, take 1 more nice, deep, purifying and cleansing breath. And 5. And wide awake. And welcome back to your present body and mind system. Welcome back to yourself. Welcome back to this dimension. Welcome back to Lake Harriet Spiritual Community. Namaste. Thank you.
Okay. I need more than 5 counts to get back in my body. What about the rest of you? All right, how about this? Everybody just take a deep breath. Hold it and release. 1 more deep breath. Hold it and release. All right. Wow. Thank you, Eric. Okay, I think I'm back. Well, there was so much that you shared with us. There were lots of little nuggets, but one of the things that I'm always amazed about is the synchronicities of the talks. Like this morning, we focused on presence, and then you led us through an exercise and you talked about being present. So that's what I was focusing on, being present. When I meditate, when I used to meditate, what I used to do in my meditations, I like to block out all the senses, the light, the sounds, but what I'm focusing on now is when you're present, you can be in the midst of everything, but you've got that stillness. So you could meditate and hear the birds, you could hear the noises outside and all of that. So you reminded me of that. As we were going through the meditation, I could hear all of that outside. But anyway, I'll shut up now, stop yammering. So Lake Harriet Spiritual Community is funded. One of the sources of income is donations. So we are a volunteer organization. We have one paid employee, but we're a volunteer organization, and donations help us keep the doors open, keep the lights on, and keep this space available to offer great speakers and activities. So in a moment, the ushers will be passing the baskets. Give what you can give today. If you don't have any cash, don't worry about it. Consider becoming a regular donor and visit our website. There's a mechanism to become a regular donor. And if you become a regular donor, when the basket is passed, you can put in one of these. It's a symbol of your donation, and we have those in the back of the room. So if you become a regular donor, it helps us with the budgeting process as well. These are in the back, and you can get those. Now, if you don't have any cash today, don't worry about it. We've got some QR codes in the baskets as well. So thank you for what you can give.
You got all that emotion that's heaving like an ocean, and you're drowning in a deep, dark well. I can hear it in your voice that if you only had a choice, you would rather be anyone else. I love you just the way that you are. I love the way you made your precious heart. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. I know it's hard to hear it when that anger in your spirit is pointed like an arrow at your chest. When the voices in your mind are anything but kind, and you can't believe your Father knows best. I love you just the way that you are. I love the way He's shaping your heart. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Well, how does it end when the war that you're in is just you against you against you? Gotta learn to love, learn to love, learn to love your enemies too. You can't expect to be perfect. It's a fight you gotta forfeit. You belong to me, whatever you do.
Gary, I love the lyrics to that song. Who is that? Andrew Peterson. Okay, love those lyrics. Learn to be kind to yourself. Love yourself. All right, so help me love and bless this green that we've collected by repeating after me. God's perfect love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Oh. All right, so to close out this session, I'd like us to circle up. That's part of our tradition. I think we've got enough to circle up around the entire middle section here. So let's try it. And then Eric will lead us in a closing. And so spread out. Don't be afraid to spread out.
Oh, here we go.
Spread out. We can do it.
Very good, we did it. Okay. May we continue to grow from ignorance to wisdom, from restlessness to peace, from desires to contentment. May we continue to grow and evolve and awaken to the truth of who and what we really are as these brilliant soul beings that are based in love and come from love, and we'll go back to love, and we are beings of love while we're here. May we recognize that in ourselves and in others. Om, peace, and amen, and namaste. Mm-hmm.